So I often get accused of, quote, wanting to stop Brexit. However, I've been very, very, very clear on this subject. I actually want Brexit to happen because the biggest way you kill Euroscepticism is you just let Brexit happen. I'm very happy to let it happen. It's going to be an absolute disaster for this country. And we're going to realise pretty quickly why we joined Europe in the first place. We're only going to go back in time to being the, quote, the basket case of Europe, which is what we were before. And, that's just going to happen again. And the funny thing is you've seen a lot of these Brexiteers, especially when we try in a proper, articulate scenario of, the House of Commons, where we try and have proper debates about what actually leaving the European Union means, and all of a sudden you get cries of you can't do that, you can't do that. Remember at the referendum, one of the legitimate scenarios that was offered to us was that we could stay in the customs union and single market. That was a legitimate leave option, and I know full well a lot of people voted for that. Now, of course, what does leave actually mean? Well, of course, this was actually been at the core of what Brexit was all about. Because leave wasn't actually defined and told what it means, the Brexiteers themselves, especially the hardcore, do not want this conversation to actually take place or even happen, because then people might actually start to change their minds on what this actually means. You had Theresa May and, a lot of sensible Conservatives knew that, okay, people have voted to, quote, leave. Well, okay, we're going to do the softest Brexit possible to try and reduce as much harm to this country as possible. Now, of course, this harm was waved away by the Brexiteers of oh, it's just Project Fear, it's not going to happen. And instead, we got the fantasies sold to us of unicorns and sunny uplands and Greenlands and, Empire 2.0. We are about to leave our biggest trading partner, and you cannot have a sensible conversation in the Houses of Parliament about staying in the customs union or even the single market because it's, quote, seen as a betrayal and a will against the will of the people. Well, what is the will of the people? People voted to, quote, leave. And I've said this before, if you got a different range of leave people from different backgrounds and you were to question them, seriously question them on what leave meant, you would not get a single coherent message as to what that actually means. And this is part of the problem, because we are being forced, and our government, especially the Tory government, was held hostage by essentially the complete extremist free market fundamentalist, children of Thatcher. We've talked about them before, the big ultra Eurosceptics out there. This is going to be an absolute disaster, and they do not want this conversation to happen. So I'm very happy to let Brexit happen, but you get things like this, and it's no wonder that despite the fact that you've had Boris Johnson's cabinet members failing again and again and again, not one has been fired or even stepped down, because all these people are complete Boris loyalists. And you do not want anyone sensible getting into these positions, because they might raise the alarm bells about what's going to happen. Such as this from the Huffington Post, titled, "The Potential Nightmare Facing the UK If a No-Deal Brexit and a Second Coronavirus Wave Collide." So, starts with this. Power shortages, violence and troops on the streets, and even military airdrops to provide food to the Channel Islands have all been detailed in a reasonable worst-case scenario. I want to please go over that again. A reasonable worst-case scenario, power shortages, violence, troops on the street, and even military airdrops to provide food to the Channel Islands. So, the document examining what could happen if a no-deal Brexit and a second coronavirus wave collide this winter. The Cabinet Office paper, leaked to the Sun newspaper, also warns the Navy may be needed to stop British fishermen clashing with illegal European fishing boats incursions. It says that parts of the UK may face power and petrol shortages if thousands of lorries are stranded in Dover, while shortages of medicines caused by port blockages could lead to animal diseases spreading throughout the countryside. And that's not coronavirus, that's just Brexit. The classified document, dated July 2020, further warns that if trade restrictions triggered by a no-deal Brexit are combined with floods, flu, and another coronavirus wave, then hospitals may be overwhelmed, the PA media reports. Town halls could go bust, and troops may have to be drafted onto the streets if the economic toll causes public disorder, shortages, and price hikes, according to the leaked dossier. Interesting enough, there has been reported recently, there's going to be a massive rise in the price of wheat, which is going to have a massive knock-on on the price of flour, which will have a massive knock-on on the price of bread. And if you've ever studied political sciences, you will know that there is a a significant correlation. I can't say it now. A significant. I know the word. I can't say it. Causation between the rise in the price of bread and the chances of a revolution. You know. And that's the other thing. Town halls could go bust. Why? Because of austerity. And they are going to be hit by austerity again by the autumn budget. I can almost guarantee it. Because they have been relying, town halls and local councils have been relying on EU funding to keep them afloat all these years. And that's gone. Replaced again. Apparently the Tories said we were going to replace it. With what? Everything the Tories and the Leavers and the Brexiteers said that they were going to they said, what about this about the EU? We'll replace it. Not a single thing has actually been replaced. None of the 60 plus EU agencies that we are leaving have been replaced. The additional funding for farmers, the subsidies that they were meant to get, not going to be replaced. So yeah, it's just absolutely shocking that that's it. So this comes from a Twitter from a guy called Harry Cole, tweeted about this. The Cabinet Office drawn up a complete horror show warning what the country could face this winter, and it's all been leaked to the Sun. As Brexit talks slip into complete acrimony, the COVID second wave of fears also rise. Here is what's waiting on the dashboard. It's absolutely terrifying. Generally is. As a government spokeswoman said, the document reflects a responsible government ensuring that we are ready for all eventualities. So the UK and EU negotiators also warned that there has been very little progress during the last round of post-Brexit trade talks last week, and the time is running out to broker a deal before the transition period comes to a close at the end of the year. And scientists are fearful that the winter months could bring about a second wave of coronavirus in the UK. Cabinet Office ministers such as Michael Gove said, "We got Brexit done with a great deal in January. And we are working flat out to make sure that the United Kingdom is ready for the change and huge opportunities at the end of the year as we regain our political and economic independence for the first time in almost 50 years, which basically amounts to complete butt kiss. That is the biggest piece of newspeak I've ever seen. And of course, it's Michael Gove, so, it means nothing. There was no deal done in January. Signing the withdrawal agreement is not a deal. But, there you go. Anyway, he continues. Part of this work includes routine contingency planning for various scenarios that we are not thinking will happen. Right? But must be ready come what may, whether we trade with the EU on similar terms to Canada or to Australia, or a brighter future awaits us as we forge our own path. There isn't a single economist out there that agrees with you on this. We have talked numerous times. The EU is our biggest trading partner. Leaving the EU, by conservative number estimates, the conservative number for a no-deal Brexit was about 8%. There are a lot of other economists think that that number will actually be higher at around 12%. 8% is a massive number. Currently, we are in a recession. And the government now owes over 100% of the UK's GDP. Telling us for over the past 15 years, they've almost been in power now, that we had to do austerity because this is how we needed to get the budget under control. And yet somehow they've only managed to increase the deficit. I laugh, but it's truly shocking. It really is. And I can't think of any other response but not to laugh. Oh. The government spokesperson also added, at the end of the year, we'll be also outside the single market and customs union. Whatever the outcome of the negotiations, intensive planning is underway to help ensure that businesses and citizens are ready to take advantage of the opportunities and changes that will bring. What are those opportunities and advantages? I'll tell you what, a lot of these businesses don't know. A lot of these businesses still don't know what the hell's going to happen because you're still not giving them any sort of guidance on what's going to happen. Anyway, it continues. This includes launching a comprehensive communications campaign to make sure everyone knows what they need to do to be prepared. Again, I can tell you, coming from the business community, nothing has actually been coming from the government. Their Get Ready for Brexit site offers nothing in terms of guidance or anything like that. It really is shocking. Really is. So, as a responsible government, oh dear, we continue to make extensive preparations for a wide range of scenarios, including the reasonable worst-case scenario. This is not a forecast or a prediction of what will happen, but rather a stretching scenario. It reflects a responsible government ensuring that we are ready for all eventualities. Maybe we shouldn't be putting ourselves in that situation in the first place. If that's a potential scenario, maybe we shouldn't be putting ourselves in a position for a no deal. Maybe we should, extend the transition period. But of course, we can't do that, or else people might realise that being in the single market and customs union is actually a positive to this country. So, shh. But, we're about to find out how much of a positive that actually is to our country as well, when obviously that happens at the end of the year. So, I'm looking forward to October. October is when it's all going to kick off, my friends. October crisis, Halloween crisis, call it what you will. October, oh boy, it's going to be fun.